We the people of Florida have as much or more of a right to disseminate and publish government public records for purposes private or to the public, by whatever means we deem appropriate to share said public records to whatever audience we so choose. This is our right acknowledged by federal and state constitutions. We the people have a First Amendment right to freedom of the press. Under Florida's constitution and its statutes, the state and its agents are not permitted to claim copyright on its public records unless the legislature specifically permits it. This includes a work made or received pursuant to law or ordinance or in connection with the transaction of official business by any state, regional, county, district, municipal, or other unit of government and their associated committees and divisions created or established by the laws of the government of Florida. Text, communications, and images produced by the government of Florida and any county, region, district, authority, agency, or municipal officer, department, division, board, committee, bureau, commission, or other separate unit of government created or established by law are consequently in the public domain according to court interpretation in Microdecisions Incorporated versus Skinner.
Excuse me. What's your name again?
Apple cable?
I'm sorry?
Is this an Apple cable?
Yes, it is. It's a lightning cable. So you can plug your.
Mine isn't an Apple one.
Okay. So that's one we don't have, but we can certainly have one installed for you.
You don't need to do it.
Apple
Just
only.
if it was
That's-
just Apple, that's what the city fathers
And
have. is Apple.
80% of the world is on Android. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
How much?
We have an exclusive.
Really?
But you know, it's like a,
This evening?
okay, it's just like,
What time?
it's just like the metric system.
I don't have it.
Only the states talk about pounds and ounces. Everybody else is liters and.
I'm actually at a meeting right now. As a matter of fact, you're going to have to text me. Our meeting's starting. Text me. This is my cell
I need to ask your
phone.
name one more time, because it takes 3 times. Adam.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're live.
All right.
Okay.
You're live.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's my cell phone.
Call
so
the meeting
just
to
text me
order.
and I'll see what I can do.
Welcome to the February 6, 2019 meeting of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle of the meeting.
We'll begin by having our board members and ex officio members introduce themselves, beginning on my left.
Hello, Stu Sharma.
Ray Casano.
Lena Teixeira.
Venkat Devaneni.
Paris Morphopoulos.
Oh, David Albritton.
Very good. Okay, we'll go on to item number 2. This is for citizen comments for items not on the agenda. If there's any citizens that would like to address us, this would be the time. Okay. Let's move on to item number 3. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the January 2nd, 2019 regular monthly meeting.
No copy. Could you?
I move we approve them.
Very good. And we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Item number 4. Looking for a motion to adopt the December 2018 financial statement for filing.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. Okay, any discussion on this point? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any opposed? Okay, it looks unanimous. We can let the record show that we've been joined by Member Wright.
Thank you.
Okay, we're looking for item number 5 now. Looking for Mr. Andrew Laughlin to come up and talk to us regarding the 2018 annual financial report and audit results. Welcome.
Don't worry about it.
All right, we're getting the presentation passed out so you all can see a copy. I'd say it's that annual reunion. The auditor's back. As I was pulling in the parking, I was like, man, has it been 1 year since I met with you all? Time flies when you're having fun, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But those that don't know or don't remember me, I'm Andrew Laughlin, principal with Clifton Larson Allen, who had oversight of the audit for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2018. I was the principal, the one signing the report, the one ultimately in charge. I had a team that did all the work, whereby I took all the credit, but my team was Kim Pobletti as senior and Joe Baltera, an associate. And as a recurring team, they've done work for the board in years past, so did a great job on this, got it done quickly, and able to present this audit to you here today. So just have a quick 5 or 10 minute presentation. I'll address any questions if you have any. And then I also have another colleague I'd also like to address and introduce at the end of this presentation as well. So just running through the slides real quick, the presentation agenda, there's the things I want to talk about. The audit services performed. It is the audit for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2018. The financial statements are pretty straightforward. It's not a full-blown CAFR with multiple segments. Really, there's just some required supplementary information, or what we call RSI, that's management's discussion analysis. We do provide some limited procedures around that to make sure that the numbers tie, the information contained within the MD&A makes sense, and that's what we did in conjunction with this report. Reports to be delivered, we've got a number of them. So the reports that are included in the financial reporting package are the independent auditor's report, where we expressed an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, so everything is fairly stated within all material respects and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, or GAAP. We also issued at the end of the financial statements an internal control report that addresses internal controls over financial reporting and also internal controls over compliance with laws, regulations. So if we had any what we call term material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control, we would address those in that report. We didn't have any. Then the next two is the management letter and the examination report. Both of those are required by the Florida Auditor General. The management letter just essentially provides us with a to-do list of a number of action items that we need to take. For example, performing a financial condition assessment. So if we felt that this entity was a going concern and financially could not sustain in future years, we would have to report that here. Also, if we found any internal control related matters that maybe didn't rise to the level of what we would report in the internal control report, we would report them in that letter. We didn't have any issues to report in the management letter, so very clean in that sense. The examination report, another, as I mentioned, requirement from the Florida Auditor General, that is examining investment compliance. And so that's pretty simple here for the board, because all cash that's with the board is really held by the city of Clearwater and in kind of an agency or custodial capacity. So not a whole lot of testing we need to do around that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We just want to pull up the presentation. It was on the taskbar.
Right here. Sorry about that.
Clear to
No
you,
worries.
so you can
Sorry about that.
click through
Does
it.
that mean I need to start over?
No.
But y'all are having so much fun.
There you go.
Perfect.
And you can just hit the,
Yep.
So our 4 viewers online.
Sorry about that to the 4 viewers online. And then the last one's the governance communication. This is required under our auditing standards to issue a letter. I've included the highlights in a future slide, so we'll go over that in a moment. Just some of the elements of the audit. We assess internal controls, understanding information technology of the city of Clearwater. We get documentation from the city. Mostly it's work performed by the city's auditor, just around reliable transaction processing from an IT infrastructure perspective. And then receipts and revenues, disbursements and payables, those are really the significant transaction processes of the entity. So we'll look at key controls around that. For example, on disbursements, there's an authorization of disbursement form that gets signed by the board chairman, treasurer for any disbursements that go out. So we evaluate those controls, make sure that that's happening on a sample basis when we make selections of specific disbursements, and ensure that those controls are in place. And then financial closing reporting, just getting an understanding of how information is captured and then reported in financial statements that are presented to us, and look at the controls around that. Required communication to governance, that's the letter that we produce included in our financial report. But it's a separate deliverable. Just discusses discloses if there's any difficulties that we encounter during the audit, any disagreements we have with management, any new significant accounting policies, and it's been pretty much business as usual in our dealings with the board and any financial statement disclosures. So nothing major to report there. Last few slides. The next one is our audit approach highlights. So here we mention ensuring compliance with the CRA and the DDB interlocal agreement. So we do testing on those DDB expenditures, make sure that they were in line with mission, right, for the promotion, facilitation, support of activities that sustain, promote, and advance downtown revitalization, attract business residents within the district. So we want to make sure that those expenditures that are incurred are in line with those activities. Overall, we looked at 19 different transactions. We have a sampling form that we use based on materiality and other factors that go into that. 19 transactions that resulted in 84% coverage of all the expenditures within the organization. So we looked at a lot. Almost all of them. Then we also look to make sure the charges to DDB are aligned with the interlocal agreement. So looking at staff and office administration, there's a financial statement line item for that, and then also for fixed payments. So we evaluated that as well. I'll get to that in more detail in a future slide. The next is just, last thing I want to just cover is just an overview of the financial statements. The balance sheet and income statement, I provided comparative column so you can see any major changes from one year to the next. Assets, liabilities, net position look pretty straightforward, no major changes. A little increase in cash. That just has to do with the fact that net position increased by $49,456 from prior year, so that in turn increases your cash balance from one year to the next. That loan receivable, that $48,000 balance, that has been steady for years and years and years. If you'll recall, that was a September 2003 interlocal agreement with DDB where the CRA loaned the DDB $48,000 to purchase property, and then upon subsequent resale, that money will be returned to you plus 3.85% of profit from the sale if there is profit. If not, you'll get the $48,000. And I think that's on the South Washington Avenue site. And so once that finally gets sold, that receivable goes away. Then the last page on the financial statement summary, just some highlights here on revenues and expenses. So we've got the intergovernmental revenue and property tax revenue. So property tax revenue went from $266,000 to $286,000. There's a slight increase in millage from .9651 mils to .97 mils, but the bulk of that difference really is due to rising property values from one year to the next. But a little combination thereof, but that's essentially the cause of that increase there. You also have these intergovernmental revenues. It went from $188,000 to $210,000. So that's that TIF payment that the CRA collects. So DDB pays the TIF to the CRA, and then the CRA returns that TIF revenue less the admin fee that the CRA retains. So that $210,000 you see there in intergovernmental revenue, that comes right back out in the fixed payment number for $228,864. That $210 is embedded in that. So that really has no financial statement impact. So your real revenues are the property tax revenues that you generate. The TIF revenue is just a revenue in and an expense out. So on that subject, just looking at fixed payments and staff and office administration, that fixed payment. Oh, sorry, did I advance that? My fault. Sorry about that. Thank you. So that fixed payment went from $200,000 to $228,000. So $210,000 of that is the payment to the CRA. So that increased last year from $188,000 to $210,000. There's also a tax collector commission for about $6,000, property appraiser fee for about $2,500, and there are very, very inexpensive audit fees of $8,000. That's also included in this as well to get to the $228,000, plus some other very small miscellaneous amounts. The staff and office administration, so if you're wondering what comprises that $78,000, the vast majority of that is that CRA administrative fee. So the work for the city of Clearwater, the administrative functions performed by Monica Mitchell and Anne France, that's $68,624. And that is set by an interlocal agreement that increases 2.5% each year. So last year it was like $66,000, this year $68,624. The next highest amount in that is the $3,725 of legal fees. So that plus the legal fees gets you pretty close to the $78,687. That's what's in that number. Otherwise, the downtown arts and beautification, marketing events, that's all the actual expenditures on the downtown revitalization projects. So pretty consistent from year to year. The MD&A has some information on some of those line item fluctuations. For example, the downtown arts beautification actually decreased by about $3,000, $3,200. There was unspent funding from a downtown streetscape maintenance That's why that line item decreased. Downtown marketing increased by about $8,000. Some additional costs on graphic design and printing, some additional increased funding on the downtown Jolly Trolley Loop, and then some increased funding for the Clearwater Arts Alliance Cultural Map Project. That's what generated the increase in that line item. And then downtown events increased by a little bit as well due to increased funding for various events. And so overall, no major significant changes from year to year, but just wanted to highlight some of those financial statement line items. Any questions on that or any other part of my report?
Just one question.
Sure.
The interest income is not a lot of money, but it decreased significantly. Can you explain that?
I think it just has to do with investment gains and losses, and this is the city of Clearwater's pooled cash and investment balance. That investment income can fluctuate based on interest rate fluctuation from purchasing fixed income securities. So that is, whatever that portion is, that's allocated to DDB based on their cash position within the city. So that's just an allocation that goes, the DDB doesn't have its own bank account that earns interest. That's all just furnished by the city through their pooled cash and investment interest allocation.
Is that fund basically a money market fund, or is it an actively managed investment account?
That is the entire investment portfolio of the city of Clearwater, of which the DDB makes up a very small portion. And so that includes both short-term securities and more long-term investments as well, like those fixed income securities I was referring to. Okay. Monica Mitchell's here if you want further information on what that portfolio looks like.
Okay, so if we had 2 to 3 interest rate increases last year by the Fed, why would that number be lower significantly on a percentage basis than the previous year? And if your portfolio is short duration?
It's about 3 to 5 years on average. And what happens is we're required to mark our portfolio to market at the end of the year. So when we marked to market at September 30th, we had a loss. We had a market loss. Okay. And that resulted in the interest earnings being lower because we have to net that loss off the actual interest earnings. Yep. We hold everything to maturity, so we never realize that gain or loss, but we do have to mark to market.
Thank you.
Yep. Rising interest rates will cause that market value to decrease.
An additional question, I'm not sure if you're the one to answer it, but maybe you know. The $48,000 loan from the CRA, is that repayable on a date certain or just when the property is sold?
It's repayable when the property is sold, and at this time, we only got one bid, which was rejected for that site because it was entirely limited to 60% area median income, so it was 100% subsidized housing project, which didn't meet the goals of the redevelopment for the site. So we'll be putting that out to bid again in the fall, and we have to negotiate fair market value. Doesn't necessarily have to be appraised, but it has to be fair, so you guys will be reimbursed in full. We will receive at least that amount of money, if not substantially more, so.
Very good. Okay. That's my only question. Anyone else have a question?
No, that's the...
I just have one more slide regarding for next year's audit. We're under contract one more year. As far as my role going forward, I'm taking a new role within my firm, exiting the assurance services area and moving more into consulting and outsourcing within the local government sector. So Lance Schmidt, and I brought him here as well if he wants to come up. He's taking on a lot of my audit responsibilities going forward. So I wanted to just introduce him to you since you'll see him next year in our last year of contract, and want to let you all know that and address any concerns you all might have on that. But I'll turn it over to Lance to say a couple words.
For the record, my name is Lance Schmidt. I'm a principal with CLA, and good introduction. I appreciate that, Andrew. And certainly, as we talk about transition and we talk about, opportunities, CLA is all about, how do we, grow, create opportunities for our clients and, for our staff. And obviously, this is a great opportunity for Andrew to kind of take on some additional opportunities and better serve our clients. And so with all of that, when we talk about transition, we're not talking about, putting something down and somebody else picking it up, or Andrew walking away and me walking in. Andrew and I are going to work together and are working together on this process. And certainly any concerns that you guys have, Andrew's still here if you need to voice them later, or maybe not now. But certainly we're going to work together. We're going to make sure you have fresh perspective and kind of a fresh set of eyes looking at everything, but then also keeping an institutional knowledge by having the team and Andrew still here. So it is a pleasure to kind of meet you guys and attend the board meeting today, and been good kind of learning more about the district. So it's very exciting.
Very good, thank you. I have one more question for you.
Sure.
And that is, we don't have really any CPAs here, so I'm just curious, from your experience doing these audits for other government entities, how usual or unusual is it for you to do an audit like this and come up with no discrepancies or no recommendations? Or, like, it seems very clean. Is that typical, or is that unusually good, or how do we assess that?
I think we both can speak to that. I can start. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward audit. So the more complex the entity, the greater risk, inherent risks there are, potentially the more likelihood is there is to have to find something that might merit an internal control issue that we would disclose. So it's not to say we're not doing the work. We're certainly doing the work.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting that you're not. I'm
Sure.
just wondering how pleased should we be with our own internal?
We have auditees that there's persistent year after year. There's always findings, and we have clients that we just never find anything. So it depends. But I suggest you pat yourself on the back for
There you go,
jobs
that's
well
what
done.
you're waiting for.
It's not so much to pat myself on the back, but I was thinking this might be a good time to commend our own staff and the people in the city that have these procedures in place and are obviously doing a very good job if
Yeah.
nothing comes up on audit.
They've been great to work with, get us all the information we need, and make things run pretty smoothly.
Great. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're looking for a motion to adopt the 2018 annual financial report and audit results.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Very good. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? None. It is unanimous. Let's move on to item number 6, the post-event report. Welcome to Frank Chivas. This is the Clearwater Superboat Championship. Welcome back. Your timing is really good.
Yeah. Traffic. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That means we got plenty of people in our neighborhood, which we need. Again, I want to thank you, and I'm just actually looking over the 2018 impact study, and for that weekend, and I don't know if you all recall that weekend, or that week, or that month, or that period of time, we had a lot going on. Red tide, and hopefully our new governor will address all the issues that he needs to address, and with the red tide, so we can figure out where we're at. But anyway, we had another successful superboat race. I think downtown was packed on the Friday night. From what I heard, it was one of their bigger nights of the year. It started around 5 o'clock and ended around 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know I had a good time. And we had estimated this year, which was a smaller attendance overall, of only 130,000 people on the 3 days. And we attribute that one to, the red tide. And we actually, of course, I don't know if you all noticed, we got on the TV and starting on Wednesday and telling that no red tide anywhere in sight. And, we were very proactive, and I think it made a big difference because everyone thought it was going to be a total flop. And, and of course, visit St. Pete, Clearwater, they couldn't get out there and say there was no red tide because they had red tide in Madeira Beach, but we didn't have it in Clearwater Beach. And, we made sure everyone knew that. So just some of the, the results for this year, 46% of the people that were Pinellas County residents that were there. 30% were day trippers. I think this is pretty good information. And 22% were overnight visitors. And there was an estimated room night support by the event of 10,700 rooms. So you can see it's, you know, the typical overnight visitor party had an average party size of 2.9 people and spent a minimum of 3 nights in the Clearwater area. Day trippers attend the event with an average party size of 3.2. Out-of-town visitors attained their Hooters, Clearwater Superboat, from the following sources. Previous visits to the event were 43%. Recommendations were 23%. Internet was 21%. Television was 20%. Tampa Bay Times 6%. And print advertising was 5.5%. The majority of non-resident visitors say they will return for next year's event. So how do they do this? They get college students and they do surveys on the beach, and they do surveys Friday night here during the parade. They do surveys in Coachman Park. So that's pretty good information. The average age of the Clearwater Superboat Championship was 47.3 years old. Nearly 1 in 3 attendee groups included children or young adults. And then it goes on to say the economic impact of 2018 Hooters Clearwater Superboat National Championship, the direct expenditures of out-of-county attendees at the Hooters Clearwater Superboat Championship are estimated to be $8.9 million. The total economic impact equals $17.8 million. That's a multiplier of 1.99. So as you can see, this was over the last 5 years one of our slowest events, but still real good results. And I also think it was by far the best for the downtown because there was everybody was packed. I don't know if you guys were out to see it, and it was a pretty good event.
Good.
Any questions?
Do you think the impact for downtown has increased because of the parade?
I think the parade, but also I think everything that you guys are doing for the downtown. I think it's, I mean, the biggest challenge is parking, and of course, I used to say the biggest challenge was parking on Clearwater Beach, okay? I've changed my opinion on that. If the sun's shining, there's no parking and there's plenty of people. If the sun's not shining, there's no people. So as long as the sun's shining, there's lots of people out there. And, I mean, I checked into a hotel last night in Orlando, and, girl asked me where I was from. I said, Clearwater. She says, oh, we love Clearwater. And I said, when do you go there? She said, oh, we go to the beach. And she says, I send a lot of people, to the beach from here. I tell them to go. And now this is a Hard Rock Hotel. It's called the Aventura, which they have a Hard Rock in Daytona. And this girl at the front desk is saying that she sends people to, to here. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
David, you had a question?
No question. I just, another great job.
Yeah. So I have a couple questions. The Ferris wheel that was down here. You did that, Stu?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
And then the city was so kind to keep him here for a couple more nights.
Uh-huh.
Good cooperation.
Yeah. What about getting a Ferris wheel here full time? Has anyone ever thought of that?
No.
The Clearwater Eye.
All over.
What's that?
Venkat Matt recommended in his recommendations to have a Ferris wheel full-time.
I think it's
We're looking
brilliant.
at bringing it back
Big
more
one, though.
often.
Big one.
And what's that? No, big. Yeah, I think it's brilliant. And I've talked to, I'm in the restaurant business, so I get to talk to a lot of people. And I can tell you have one fan, gentleman by the name of Ben Mala, and he said he'll put the money up. Wow. He said that,
I'll follow up with you.
yeah, I mean, he's very, very, very serious. And I just think it's,
Well, from a money perspective, just as an FYI, it was the holiday party for No Before, and
yeah.
I wrote a $250K check to have that, there was 10 or 15 different kind of attractions together to come over.
Right.
I have no idea what that would cost for, permanent residency, if you will, but that might be quite a bit of money.
Well,
Yeah, but it paid for itself.
The city of Atlanta installed one in Centennial Olympic Park. They're a downtown development authority, essentially did that. So it's, we can find the numbers.
There's actually,
And in Santa Monica too, right?
what's that?
Santa Monica has one too on the beach.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Santa Monica.
famous
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're very, as you very well know, you can construct them very fast.
Sure.
And there's ones sitting in boxes, okay, ready to be someone to buy them. So it's not, it's just, I'm just telling you, it was brilliant.
Be up on the
It
weekend.
was fun.
Yeah, no, it is fun, and it's, we all talk about how we're gonna get people downtown. Well, there you go.
Oh, that'll do it.
So anyway, I have.
It's actually something that wasn't possible until last year with the change in the state special act
Okay.
restrictions on
Yeah.
that parking lot.
Yeah,
So
well,
literally, we took advantage of it the first possible time that it could happen.
mhm.
It was great.
Nice.
And, I'll tell you, people talked about it. And, so that's why I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And, and if you don't mind sharing my email, well, it's frank@tbi.net. Very simple, tampabayinternet.net. And,
I have one more question for you, Frank. I'm just curious what the magnitude of the budget is for putting on the super boats. Is that confidential, or is that?
No, it's basically the money that we have left over, and we do have some money left over, okay? Because we get sponsors other than yourself, and not much, but it's over $100,000. But we're able to give money to charities, and it's it's harder and harder every year. Insurance, big thing, and believe it or not, I have to go before 13 government agencies to put this race on.
Wow.
And whenever you have over 150,000 people in an event, it's, you get, there's a lot of different moving parts. And, you would think that the sheriff's department, you got the Dunedin Police Department, you got actually the city of Tampa, they're involved now, their police department, because of boats coming from underneath the Skyway coming to the event, Coast Guard, Border Patrol. It's
But 100,000 seems small. I'm talking about how much does it cost to put on an event like that altogether?
Basically, I have to, $100,000, and then for about 110,000, okay, a little over, and it's they're trying to raise right now. I'm fighting with them, and that's a battle every year. They want more money because they put on a good show, and they know that they see this.
Yeah, it's a hell of an economic impact for $100,000.
Right, and but it's a lot of work. So just so you know, I have a committee of of 2. Okay? And I have a girl that's my assistant that works on it, and she doesn't get paid out of it either. So it's, you know, and.
What you're telling us is it's a labor of love, really, almost.
Well, I said I'll go 10 years, so this will be the 9th year.
All right.
Okay? Or actually, this will be the 10th year.
Yeah.
No, it really is. And, you know, not having so many people involved, it keeps it, you know, like I tell everybody, I don't even look at this until after Labor Day. You know, because, you know, and it's like anything else, you're dealing with egos. Okay, you're dealing with guys that, you know, they throw millions of dollars in their race boats. And they want to come here and race. This is the best race course there is of anywhere. It's the safest and it's the best. And what makes it the best? Well, they got a nice park here, and who knows how long this will last, but, you know, we got a backup plan. You know, there's, you know where the county buildings are over there? By the way, just so you guys know, there's 15.5 acres there that's owned by the county, and they want to move out. Okay? Am I right? And all that property is going to be available. And you can go 30 stories up, and once you get past 60 feet, now you're talking 17.5 acres. And multiply that by 30, and you can go higher than 30. Okay, that's 510 acres. We could call that the uptown. Give you all something else to work on. Okay? You got.
Yeah, I got a question. How did that swimmer affect future?
That swimmer, so let me just tell you this, and I wish I would have brought these numbers because it's amazing. Number one, we had teams from Dubai. We had teams from Qatar, okay. And next year we're going to have probably 4 more teams, international teams from Turkey. Okay, so it's and so getting back to what you said, how did that probably made the impression of Clearwater because it was played all over the United States and the world. All right, it was you know, if you and someone gave me all that information, I don't have it, but it was huge. Okay, just because the race was already won before they called the race, but him swimming out there was played over. It was on news channels all over the world, and then with the team Dubai that was here. There was, I mean, just millions of hits because of that team being here. And it was all over, you know, the UK, Europe, and everything else. So.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
While listening to the your recounting of the economic impact, I'm not surprised at all. The downtown, the impact that you had on your parade was directly correlated to where the boats were. And where your boats were, there was an incredible amount of positive impact.
Yeah.
Which leads me to hope that next year, it could be a bigger footprint. I'm not sure how feasible that's going to be logistically, but it was so evident. You turned on Garden, went to 5 and 4, and we were packed. So your event, by, you know, we can't doubt it, the impact was incredible. It was a really, really great event. Then you talked about the hotel stays and beds and stuff like that, which leads me to hope that sometime in the near future we can prosper and have hotels on this side, because all that impact is basically on the beach. We don't have enough beds on this side of downtown to benefit from an event like yours. So I was hoping that maybe in the future we can share in that wealth, especially with events as successful as yours with such a significant impact.
I think that opportunity is, you know, I mean, think about this. There's 17.5 acres over there, okay, that go to
So where is this lot exactly, this county lot that you're talking about? Because is this downtown? No. Where is this?
No, we're gonna, it's, you know where Court Street is, right?
Yeah,
Okay? So going out to the beach, right?
yeah.
Okay? It's right there. It's on both sides of the road, the courthouse. Guess how many judges are in that courthouse?
Tell me.
You know what? You guys go on. I'm gonna go get something. I'm gonna show you. Okay, I'll be right back. We're gonna have a little fun.
Interesting.
Just give me a couple minutes.
County courthouse, both sides, that's a lot,
So where's the
space.
courthouse gonna move to?
Well, there's a study being done right now to see about merging, because we don't want to lose, we're the county seat, we don't want to lose the county.
Exactly.
If we can merge, and this was a study done back in 2009, 8, 9, and then everything fell in, so it kind of got put on hold, but they're reviewing it, and in the next 4 weeks, we should have the report, hopefully, by March, that, we'll see whether the county wants to merge. It's part of the plan of the whole, where we're putting City Hall, and it's all, a lot of little pieces of the puzzle, but he's right. I mean, they've got a sick building over there. They really need to get out of it, and we don't want them to go to 49th Street. We want to stay right here in downtown Clearwater. They have an economic impact.
How many employees does the county have in there?
I don't know.
1,500? I mean, can you imagine the loss to downtown, having 1,500
Yeah, that
people
would be
relocate
really
every
bad
day?
if the county would move. County should stay
Should
ideally.
Well, they've
relocate?
been doing it, when I was on the DDB, we wrote a letter
Yeah,
because there was one of the county commissioners that wanted to pull it out to the courthouse, the complex out on 49th Street.
yes.
Yeah.
We wrote a letter saying, no, we don't support that they're very important here, and we got all the attorneys that up and down
Yeah.
Chestnut that bought property to be close to the courthouse. So they kind of got the message back then, we don't want to give it up, but hey, if we can combine,
County and city.
County and city.
10-story parking garage with county and city together, right in the 500 block.
Sure.
Where the bus station is. That's kind of what we'd like to do. So we've got to have cooperation from the county. We've got to see what they're going to say.
Well, the DCMA has spoken to Commissioner Seal to express those exact views, that we value their presence there, and it would have an incredible amount of negative impact if they leave the area.
Absolutely.
So I know the DCMA has done that. Perhaps we as a DDB should do it, do a letter, like Mr. Albritton.
We should consider that probably.
Yeah, well, the
Let's,
DDB has sent a letter before, I remember. I was on the DDB.
Yeah, you were with me.
We were sent, it might be a good idea to just reiterate that same point, we would love to have the county in downtown, because that to a large degree keeps downtown alive, especially in the daytime, lunchtime, the restaurants, you see county people having lunch all
Yeah,
over
that would be
downtown.
it would be a great idea to do that. Let's get on the record early with it, so,
Yeah, okay.
What I'd like to propose is that we put an agenda item for the next meeting
Sure.
where we can discuss and possibly come up with a motion to draft such a letter
Yeah.
to support the idea of the county court system staying downtown. Because we're going to stray too far off our agenda here if we take it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
You just happen to have.
I ran right to the front. No.
Thank you.
Yeah, put one on.
That's perfect. All right. People think I'm crazy, but.
Thank you, Frank. No.
You got it figured out? All right, so you see that, you can look over here. So all the colored, okay, that's all county-owned property. One landowner, by the way, one landowner. Okay, you see the green right on the water right there, right at Court Street? That actually happens to be a parking garage, okay? You see the red right next to it? That happens to be a parking lot. All that red shaded is parking lots. So as you see, our downtown, Clearwater downtown, the downtown that you guys represent, it used to have, you know, you'd go right down Cleveland over the bridge to the beach and back. This is basically the same thing. You go over the bridge, you go to Court Street, you go over the bridge, and you come back on Chestnut through, you know, I'll call it Uptown. All right. Now, if you really want to look at a model, it's called the Brickell City Center. It's in Brickell, which is South Miami, okay? And here's the thing. When you drive down Court Street, you look up 40 feet, and there's concrete, okay? And that's a mall, that's restaurants, that's hotels, like you were saying, hotels, and all this, okay? And you're talking 17, and to make this work, one, we need to work on our transportation, okay? Two, we need to get youth downtown. We need to get USF. We need to get a nursing, okay? When I say this, does anyone have a Sharpie? So, where'd you put that at to get it all blown? Where, right here? Okay, so, give me a second. I'm gonna do some drawing here.
Right above that blue line. Yeah, so there's the SunTrust.
All right, you see that right there? That's 15 and a half acres, all right, that I have just drawn, all right?
Okay.
Okay? And I actually sort of got into Fort Harrison a little bit. So there's basically the only thing that really needs to stay is the old courthouse, and we turn that into a museum, and we just go up over it. Like I say, there's 2 judges. That's all that's in that whole building. Where the old jail is, that's all storage. Okay? And there's asbestos. I mean, it's just like City Hall. You know? Anyway, so I'm gonna do some drawing here, and I'm just putting some different towers, so to speak, and I'm gonna walk around and show you. You see this corner here, see that corner there, see that corner. You're talking lots of different property, but you could put in safety today. Everybody talks of vertical. Okay, so USF, you put them in a corner. I already have people that will put up $25 million. Okay, if I could get USF, that's a slim to none chance, but in the next couple of years. But there's a couple ladies around here that already told me, and someone else, they're big donors for USF. They live in the Bel Air, Clearwater area, and they've, you know, Tom James with Raymond James, he wouldn't have a problem putting a tower. And when I say a tower, this is just, in Dubai, they literally have car dealerships on one total floors. They got putting ranges. You understand? I mean, you could, you know, you have all this waterfront here. That's the most premier waterfront there is in all of Pinellas County. You can put, you know, Four Seasons. You can put shopping. You can put, you know, you can put condo tower, on and on and on. And just to let you know, I've talked to some of the biggest developers there are in Florida, and they say, it would take 3 or 4 developers to pull something off like this, and you're looking at in present term, $2 to $3 billion. This is like what's going on in Hillsborough County. It's no different. We just got a better beach.
Oh, yeah.
We got a better bay. We got a better city, okay? We just got to let people know that, you know, we have, and I've already been out of the county commissioners. I've been to 6 out of the 7. I want you to hear this loud and clear. I've been to 6 out of 7, and I took their business card and I handed it to them, and I said to each one of them, the only reason I didn't go to the 7th one is because I just haven't had time, but 6 out of 7 said they would support this 100%. Okay? And I had them write it on the back of their business card. And they're writing.
Who wouldn't? I mean,
No, but it's, I mean, it's not that, you know, I'm talking about it, but if you don't talk about it, I mean, and guess what? None of them realized that they had that much property that they control. Doesn't have to go to a referendum either. I've done that research. So, you know, it's huge. But I'll say this, the only way this works, you got to have a university. You got to have youth. Here's what happens with youth. They stay. They get a job here, they get a job there, they get married, they like where they're living at, and they don't move away. And that's why St. Petersburg, when U.S. Babe Earl Carr campus went there, that's the reason why St. Petersburg is what it's today in the last 15 years. And, you know, I don't see, the only way you're going to do this is with youth, and that's with the college. So you guys got to dream big like me.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Great. Thank you, Frank.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you. That was
Thanks,
all right.
Frank.
Highly appreciated.
Yes.
Yeah, and, you know, probably a lot easier with a Ferris wheel. Okay?
A big one.
That's the close.
Yes.
But, that's a start. See you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks,
I
Frank.
just love Ferris wheels.
Just want to mention that
Part of our landscape.
I normally wouldn't allow a diversion of that magnitude from the agenda, but it seemed to have everybody's interest.
Boy, I tell you.
It's an exciting
It
topic.
was uplifting.
Yes.
He's
been
been thinking like
unusually
this
good
for a
idea.
while. This is what he does, and he's good at it.
Great. Well,
I want to point out, you guys are on the same page. It's on page 2 of your work plan to establish contact with USF.
Good.
See, so I think
They should have it.
Very
philosophically aligned.
excellent. So let us move on the agenda. Item number 7, Chelsea Wilson from Achieva Boxcar Rally was unable to attend today, so we'll move on to item number 8. And we're asking Member Teixeira to give us an update on the auction for Jazz Holiday posters. How feasible is that?
Very feasible. This is easy compared to that.
Yeah, really.
So I do have all the prints, framed prints in my possession. And I'm just going to have Mr. Gary come and evaluate the worth of each, because some are signed, some are not, some already are much more rare or still available online. So he's going to determine,
Gary Hallis?
yes, the worth of the prints. And then as soon as we do that, then I'm going to plan a whole event around that, have some jazz musicians, really make it pro jazz kind of thing. He's very open to different dates. I thought at first that he was going to make me wait till like right before the jazz festival, which meant I had to store it. But he's very flexible, and so we just have to coordinate our time. And I'm hoping that it could be done by March. Have a little quick event with a musician and an auction. Make a whole evening, maybe on a Saturday, and see if we can auction off these beautiful prints.
Okay. Have you discussed a split with him, or if he requires a percentage to go to?
We didn't go in great detail. We sort of tabled that until we met face to face, because our contact has been through by phone up until this point. But that's certainly something that I'm going to talk about with him in greater detail.
The proceeds either going all to the GDP or a split with the GDP and the Jazz Holiday.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion?
I'm just trying to recall, why would we split with Jazz Holiday when they gave us the posters? We give them money, they give us posters?
Yeah, I don't know, it's just that someone had made that suggestion or recommendation at the last meeting.
I haven't. We haven't discussed any of that. However, we were just really pinpointing a time to meet and to evaluate the feasibility and timing. We did not go over any of the financial details yet.
It's not necessary that we do.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It was gifted to us.
Right. And this event would take place in March, and where would it take place, and how would that be
The
done?
easiest way would be at my bar, because I do have 3 weeks that I don't have a planned exhibit, and I already have the chains hanging, so it would be the easiest venue. I have more control, and I could do it quick. And it is something that I do at least monthly, which is art exhibits, which I have live bands, and I have the events like that. So it's starting to get known as, I mean, if the board does not like that as a venue, I'm free to think of another one. To me, it's just easy, so I'm in full control of that venue.
And another question would be, would there be any budget required to create or put on this event or to promote it? Are you contemplating just whatever it costs you doing it to get the benefit of the traffic and then just?
Exactly. I will call it an even exchange. I get traffic, and in return, I'm willing to invest in the marketing and the curating and all that, and labor, whatever that it would be. I don't see it any other way. It would just be a free event, just to generate interest. He did like the idea of it maintaining noise about the event. And I think the posters should be owned by someone, not be stored in a facility or a closet. They're beautiful. And some of them are framed, really well, with valuable frames. Very good job. So it would be a sin to have these things lying around in a storage facility.
So just to net it out, my thought here is that we have this inventory of posters. We have a way to possibly generate some income without any additional expenditure or cost. The only thing to consider is if everyone agrees that it's appropriate to have it done does anyone consider there's a conflict of interest, or if there's any difficulties in having it done through your location? Any concerns there at all?
No concerns.
Okay. All right. I then do not have a problem with it myself. Will you give us an update at the next meeting then?
Yes, by then I should have a date as well as a confirmed arrangement with Gary and a possible value that we're starting off with.
Okay. Okay, let's move on then.
Great, so the DDB allocated $25,000 in a budget line item for art tech exhibitions as part of the strategy to engage and attract tech employees. And how I would like to recommend using that money is that we want to start working to develop an augmented reality exhibition slash application that would go onto a smartphone. And it would be something that would launch in June as the Dolly exhibit is ending, and then would continue on with programming outside of the Second Century Studio space through the remainder of the year. And the reason it will cost most likely more than $25,000, but we're trying to get a baseline to start from so that we can start fundraising and getting cost estimates. And as I'm meeting with Museum and Guru and these different companies that develop this kind of work, we have to give them some kind of budget parameters. The Dolly Museum is developing their own AR experiences, and we're not going to partner with them on something Dolly specific because they're already pretty far down the line in what they want to do, and we can't keep having continual conversations about the use of the mustache. Which is what it is. So I'm not quite sure exactly what the content will be yet. That's something that we would develop in line with the company. But essentially what we want to do is carry that exhibition right out into the street. So something that would be used along Cleveland Street, something that would be used along the Pinellas Trail, This is something we'll probably partner with Creative Pinellas on, ongoing forward Pinellas, who want to see more activation along the trail. So essentially what we're looking at today is saying, are you guys okay with, you know, CRA staff moving forward with this amount of money and developing this project out? And we'll come back and let you know, here's the vendor, here's the concepts, here's the other partners as it's rolling along. But it's very basic. It'll be something that you would come in, you would download on your phone, and then it's something that you'll be able to hold up in space and see different overlays right through your phone on top of buildings and sidewalks and interactive type experiences.
You might mention what the results so far have been at the Dolly experience.
In January, we had over 600 visitors. So, which is great, which is more than the studio has probably ever seen. Not ever, but definitely a monthly record.
You had almost 200 just on the last Friday.
That's correct. Yes. It was pretty cold. Pretty cold.
Any discussion, any questions?
I think it's a good idea. Anything art and tech
Yeah.
downtown, we should do.
I agree.
I think it's actually an organic direction that actually just happened, the fusion of tech and art. And I think it's something we should really nurture. So I think this is a great idea. And it will attract the youth that he spoke about. So I support it.
Benjamin, anything to say on it? No. Okay. Thomas?
Good.
Good. Okay, well, let's, I'm looking for a motion then.
Do we need a motion at this point?
Well, we have to give a direction at least
thought you were
that
coming
we are
back
supporting
with
this.
I would say we'll take this consensus as direction, and then when we come back with an actual bill, then maybe that's where the
motion
motion is. I mean, you've already approved the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm good with
You're good with
consensus direction today, and if we need to come back for something all I, then we will.
Then we'll leave it there. Thank you.
But there is a line item.
We've already approved, but this is, at some point, we'll have to specifically direct what it's for.
Okay.
Yeah. We're not there yet.
And I don't want to get too far ahead of you, right, without us being on the same page, right? I didn't want to show up and say, okay, we have a contract with this augmented reality firm now, and everyone's like, what?
So basically, there's a consensus that she move ahead on the planning and have discussions with people, with us being in support on it on an individual basis so far. Okay, let's move on. Are you going to take item number 10? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, great.
10 through 12.
Okay.
So for the overall work plan, and just to, as you guys remember, we first created the work plan in May, right, of last year at Collaborative Labs, and then did our modifications. And this is meant to be a living, breathing document, right? It's not meant to give anyone, anxiety or stress, right? It can ebb and flow and change. It's your work plan and your working document. And so some things, when you're assigned as the point of contact or the champion, it's because you're going to do a task, right? And other times you're assigned just to make sure that somebody's asking about it, right, or checking in on it. So please, on a monthly basis, let us know if there's things that are no longer relevant, right, or things that are completed, or things that you need help, resources, more information with, right? Please let us know, right? We're going to be checking in with you, but also check in with us, so we can make sure that we're focused on the things that are most important to you beyond what we are legally required to do, right, to staff this board. So some updates on different aspects of these that staff has been working on. The Harborview demolition party, we had a date set for March 1st, but we actually, I think Adam was there, but we met with the construction crew today, and that might be pushed back to the end of March. Because at first they were like, okay, we'll definitely have, our ask to them was, we don't want anyone to see any portion of an exterior wall removed without a celebration. If someone drives by and they see a hole in the wall and we haven't celebrated it, that's an issue, right? People are going to get confused. Well, they thought that would originally be happening, you know, March 3rd. What they have increasingly found with the asbestos is that might be pushed back a little. So now we're going to be floating around the date of March 29th. So asbestos removal is happening, right? And we're going to give a full update to council with the timeline and step by step. But just so you guys know, in the next 2 days, we'll confirm. But that's good because like Thomas couldn't be here. Hopefully
So
around March.
distressed when I heard that was
I
the
know,
date, so
I know.
thank you for,
Aren't you in that committee to celebrate it?
exactly. I have travel plans before that, though, I'm sorry.
So what day is it again? I'm sorry. Where we're
So
at?
right now, save the date for March 1st. Know that it might be moving to March 29th. And as soon as we have that nailed down, we will let everybody know, just as soon as possible. Our thing is that we're not gonna stop progress, right? Because the most important thing is that the walls come down as quickly as possible. And we don't wanna delay that, you know, for the party. So we have to plan the party around when the walls will come down. But the elements and components that we're talking about happening is crowdsourcing different pictures and video and people's memories to be able to project on the side of the building, right? And then also, then that would lead into projections of what's gonna come in its place once it's down. We'll have different opportunities for people to do chalk art, potentially on the blue wall side of it. We'll have music, we'll have food, you know, I think I heard today maybe a green screen that people can have their picture looking like they're smashing the wall, even though they're not really, but it'll have a picture that'll look like it.
Fireworks?
Don't know about fireworks yet.
Blowtorch,
Fireworks from the top of the building.
acetylene, yeah,
We'll-
blowtorch,
Fireworks.
fireball.
That'd
You
be
can get
fun.
a mushroom cloud.
Daisy chains and propane tanks in there if necessary.
Giant bottle of champagne.
Yeah, so as soon as we have that date set, we are gonna be soliciting, right, more ideas, and getting that nailed down. But just know that it is in full planning mode and moving forward.
29th of Friday?
Yes, and it's a blast Friday too,
Whoa,
which makes it also a more ideal.
Aptly termed.
Last Friday
Yep.
night. Boom.
Pun intended.
real blast Friday.
Unintended.
Real blast Friday.
The public relations scope of services. So Rosemary DeMore will be meeting with each of you one-on-one to go over what your hopes and dreams are. As a public relations firm and scope of services. Also to talk you through the different mail subscription list services that are run now through the city, right? Between the CRA, between special events, between the city itself and various departments. So she's gonna walk through what our online communication tools are and just get a better idea from each of you, you know, what you'd like to accomplish and what you'd like to see in terms of public relations. Related to that, I handed out each of you our 2019 editorial strategy. Right, and so the role of digital media and storytelling has become much more important to building successful cities in this century. And essentially what that means is right now cities are focused on public information, right, or public communication, which is like, this building is open from this hour to this hour. There was a traffic accident on this road. You can come to a public meeting at this time, right? There's a very important public information component. You can get the agenda here, but that's not storytelling, right? And that can increase trust in government, but that doesn't necessarily change perception of a place, right? And that's not placemaking. And I think you guys may remember from the CRA's 18-month strategy, our number one focus area is increasing the number of positive, authentic stories about downtown, right? That show how diverse, paint a more authentic picture of what downtown is, right? Versus what you see what you can Google today, right? Or what you might see on TV today. So there you look at the goals. So, and everything that we're gonna be communicating out of the CRA, The number one goal that communication has to meet is shifting perceptions of downtown Clearwater. The second is increasing foot traffic. The third is increasing private investment. So we will not be sending out emails. We will not be putting content on the website. We will not be doing social media if it can't draw a bright line to one of these goals. And then if you look under that, the messaging, right, of how we're going to do that is moving from vacant to vibrant, moving from quiet to lively, that it's arts infused, it's a welcoming place, that there's a variety of events, right? So these are the 6 messages, right, that'll be embedded in every single piece of information that we put out there. And then you'll see there at the bottom, there's 3 kind of overall themes that we're focused on, and then there's examples of 2 potential stories underneath. There will be more than 6 stories, obviously over a year, but this is an example. So, you know, the ring, right, which that agreement was just amended and they have opened and it's gorgeous and amazing, right? I mean, we want to tell that story about how it's a leader in co-working spaces, right, around the world with a focus on health. You know, so this is a story that we really want to focus on. And it's a little bit different approach than just saying, hey, the ring's open from this time to this time. Click here to become a member, right? So shifting more away from that and into what's the story around it and how does that change your perception of downtown Clearwater? And how would that make you want to do your startup business here, right, versus somewhere else? So Rosemary's, you know, when she meets with you, she'll go over this, she'll talk about the different tools for that. And get your feedback, again, on your work plan and the goals you're interested in, especially around, you know, the tech employees and things like that. So just know that's coming and we'll be moving forward, you know, pretty rapidly with getting that RFP together and that contract going. Finally, I met with our Downtown Development Board attorney, Elise, because ordinance changes are another huge priority in the work plan and for this year. I mean, your ordinances and bylaws haven't been updated since a long time. And there's many processes that you guys have that are just really administratively burdensome. I mean, your elections process comes to mind, right? Where their votes can be thrown out because the right person didn't sign, you know, the sheet, or the signature didn't exactly match, or that you have to do direct mailings. Just a lot of things like that. So as part of that process, her first step is she's going to give us a memo. She's going to give us, probably take about 5 hours of time to give us what are our parameters that we're working in, right? What do we have to adhere to in state law no matter what? Sunshine, right? Open records, the ethics, like these are things that special taxing districts have to do no matter what under the state. And then what can you do in terms of local ordinance? Right, what can city council amend, right, in terms of our processes and procedures? And then parallel to that, we, you know, will be working with you and then also determining how deeply you want to engage your constituents in what should the role of the DDB be, right? What should the board be focused on? What kind of activities should they be undertaking that need to be codified in ordinance? And then finally, out of that, then we'll be drafting up, you know, here's the changes, and then Elise will put it in legalese. Then we'll run it through, you know, the city legal process side of things. I mean, obviously working in coordination with city council, because ultimately they will have to adopt, right, any changes that are made. Any questions about that or comments?
It seems that we've added quite a bit of time to getting it done at this point. How quickly is Elise going to get back to us?
That first part we should have in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, it should not be a lengthy process.
On the work plan, it's got my name on it, and I had intended this to occur by now, but just as an explanation, we had to get the legal advice on how to proceed, and we have not been able to achieve that till now. So everything has been delayed beyond what I intended to, so I apologize for not having it done for you guys. But it will get done, and I still have.
Well, and it's, I think we can do our work within the next 6 months, right? And then, of course, once it crosses over to the city side and that hearing process, that I don't know what that time frame is. I mean, it could be as short as 60 days, it could be longer, and that depends on what else is going on.
It turns out to be a much more complicated process than me just sitting down with a word processor for a couple hours.
But I think the key thing for you guys to think about now, which, you know, kind of rolls into the next items, is what do you want to be doing in the next 10, ordinances get updated every 15 to 20 years, realistically. So what should this entity be focused on and be doing over the next 15 to 20 years? Just marinate on it.
Work to be done. Okay.
Great. So then, moving on to the special event strategy. This is something that we'll follow up in email because unfortunately, Ann has not been feeling well and she's been out for the past 2 days. So we weren't able to complete this up in writing, but we'll be looking for direction in March on the special events funding process, right? So typically, you guys have sent letters out in April saying, hey, here's the forms, tell us if you'd like money, right? That all gets compiled, then you hear a request in the summer, and then you make decisions leading up to your new budget. And what we've heard is, right, we want to shift, we don't want to necessarily do smaller events, or we want a bigger return on investment. Whatever it is, that there's been changes in how special events should be handled. So we want to be proactive in our communication this year, that if you're not interested in funding certain kinds of events or doing an open call, right, for solicitation of special event money, we need to be able to communicate that in March, right, so that everyone has enough time to make adjustments. So we'll be asking for that direction in March on the special events funding process. Some other things to consider are like, who are the audiences that you really want to target, right? And bringing downtown. Do you want to focus more on signature large events? Those tend to have more influence on how downtown is perceived. Do you want to focus more on your restaurant and retail, right? And just ongoing daily, weekly foot traffic, so smaller, hyper-local type events. There's a couple directions that you could go. Do you want to focus exclusively on funding partners, like a Ruth Eckert, like a Merchants Association, like a Clearwater Partnership, right? Instead of directly funding events, say we fund event producers, right, who are doing these other things. So the memo will outline different things for you to consider, but just want to give you a heads up that, we want to be good communicators, right, to the grantees and let them know if they're not going to have an opportunity to obtain funds in the next fiscal year, right? You're good through October of this year. People have their grant money. So we're talking about the impact in 2020. Any questions about that?
One of the things that we had this discussion at the last budget year, and what I'm not clear on is whether there was any comment or advice in the last grant application that referenced that we were, as a warning or an advice to the people applying for grants, that we would be reducing or shifting our focus. Do you remember there was discussion about that?
Yeah, sure.
But I don't remember if it actually got written into the grant application form, whether there was a lead time warning or anything like that. If there isn't, it might be, you might think about for this next one, having some verbiage saying, okay, this is either we go cold turkey and cut whatever we cut, or we say, this is your last shot, be aware that after this year, we're not in that business anymore, or whatever we decide if we are or not. Okay?
My recollection of that conversation, maybe I'm really skewed here, but at least when I think about it, I just was on the mindset that the DDB should not be synonymous with just handing out money for events, that we had enough talent to contribute more and adopt more roles rather than either or. That was my perception, because I still think we need all these events. And I think we need it organically for the small person who's asking for 1,000, and I believe in partnership. But I don't think we're doing great enough that we can actually pick and choose, to be honest with you. So anybody who has a great idea should be heard and not discouraged. That's my opinion.
And I don't disagree. I'm just saying, if we're considering the option that we have not as a board made that decision yet, but if there's a possibility that the board may come to a decision to do something that would adversely affect funding for some of these grants, we should have some warning paragraph in the grant application that we have not decided that, and that they should be thinking about how to do an alternate source of funding for their event if it comes to that, so that they're not left shell-shocked and wondering what happened to the grant we've been counting on every year for the last 10 years. We didn't get any warning that it wasn't going to happen this coming time. It's not that we've decided that, but it's a possibility.
So should we add it to the agenda so we
Well,
can
it is-
make the
It is part
appropriate
of the
changes?
special event strategy
Right.
discussion that's coming up.
And I think your comment perfectly illustrates that if we want a mechanism that allows for an idea to be considered at any time, then we need to change up our process.
Right.
We don't need one big call, right? We need to say, okay, is it quarterly, or is it every other month, or here's tiers, right, of funding, that at any time you can ask for $500 to try out something new if you want to provide a matching grant to have music every Friday, or if you trip over into 5,000, we call for that 5 times a year, and we're focused on our downtown employees, the things that serve our downtown employees. So I think that, you know, we have an opportunity to structure it in a lot of different ways, depending on the goals that you guys want to achieve. And that's what all we're asking for, is a little bit more time administratively to set that up in a way that supports that. Because right now, again, much like our ordinance, process hasn't been touched, right? It's been the same form at the same time in the same notebook for, you know, a long
Basically,
time.
we haven't made any decisions. We just want to give a warning to people that apply, that are used to getting grants from us, that changes may be
Right.
coming, and we don't know what those changes are yet. Just so they don't get blindsided, that's all.
And we'll give you time to think about that before March, obviously.
I'm sorry?
I said, and we'll give you time to think and consider and send in your ideas before March, so we're ready in March.
Well, it was my understanding that the whole shift was away from smaller events so we could promote on a global scale. Bigger promotion, not smaller promotion. I agree we do need small events, but I think the word should be from here that we're trying to spend this money wisely to increase the value of downtown, not increase the value of individual events.
Right. But there is no firm policy direction that has been adopted by motion that's nailed down on this board that I'm aware of. We have not made that decision. We've discussed it. There has been people
Well, I think-
having different opinions. But I don't
I think the
recall
past
that.
budget where we carved out a fair amount for promotion public relations was the first step down that road.
It still leaves in the budget process for marketing events. I don't think we've reached, I think at the last meeting, we had one member that was
It's a good topic for discussion.
was
Making it-
discussing one options, other people were discussing other options. We decided to continue for another year so as not to cause disruption. We funded a bunch of events just so that we wouldn't blindside them. But I don't think we made a long-term commitment to continue to do that.
Well, I think one thing we've learned, and certainly, you know, Board Member Teixeira can speak to this, is that for our existing retail and restaurant businesses, they must have events to generate foot traffic. And we're not nearly, your budget is not going to be enough in marketing, right, in order to replace what it would mean to have an exhibition or music or a sip and paint or a movie or any of those smaller type approaches that are going to generate foot traffic on a regular basis to support these small businesses. You know, and again, too, that kind of comes back to your constituent engagement, where, I mean, we know what we see every day and can provide that information, but when you think about talking to everyone who's paying these taxes overall, you know, what are they interested in seeing? What would they support funding? you know, something like a superboat, great impact, right? Your contribution to it is pretty small, right? And so it's like, what is the impact of your dollars to that signature event versus, you know, multiple merchants being able to have activities in their space open to the public over a period of 3 months. And I'm not advocating one way or the other, but that's a policy decision for you guys to consider.
It is. So basically, this isn't the time when we're reaching a conclusion on this. This is just to state that we should be thinking about this when the agenda item comes up. We need to think about what our positions are so that we can come to some decisions and move forward. I think we all have the feeling that events are useful and important. How best to fund them, which ones to fund, what size to fund, and to what extent of our budget would that occupy. These are valid questions to consider over the next month, and let's discuss it more intelligently a month from now.
Are you saying this discussion wasn't intelligent enough for you? I just really want to get clarification on that.
I say it was intelligent, but did not result in.
We appreciate your sense of humor.
In conclusion.
Thank you.
And yeah, let's raise the bar. Let's go to 3 digits. Okay. Where are we at
Area
now?
updates.
Okay.
Hello again.
Let me introduce Amanda.
Look, you guys are gonna miss me, so, you know, enjoy tonight.
Get your shots in tonight.
Right? Give her maximum
Like,
time.
The holiday extravaganza, we did have over 4,000 people attend the Winter Carnival.
Great.
Which is amazing, which is great. By far the most diverse crowd that I've ever seen in downtown. And out of that, I know that Special Events was looking at the cost of bringing the Ferris wheel back for the Sea Blues Festival. Certainly, you know, Venkat, you had brought up that idea, so it's kind of nice to, you know, hear that it's resonating. And that is something that we will be doing again in 2019. From a CRA funding standpoint, we're committed to funding Holiday Extravaganza for 3 years, and we'll have a declining portion of our budget towards it every year while we look to fill in with other partners. And a lot of that is driven because CRAs really don't have direct statutory authority to spend money on special events. We have to tie it to the downtown redevelopment plan and very specific goals. But we will be doing that again, and we're following up with all our partners to say, how did it work for you? What didn't work? What would you change? I know out of that, there was a lot of excitement about the movies and having a movie series, so that's an idea that's will continue to move forward. Until we have a little more clarification on the construction timeline, we're not sure what can happen down in Coachman Park versus what can't. If we can't bring back a carnival again, we're getting estimates now for a more elaborate, probably like light display, light show, light installation that can go along the streets or some other places that people can walk and drive through. So any ideas you have, you know, just send them my way, Ann's way, that you think would be fun for the holidays. We talked about the ring being open. That's going to continue to be a big priority for us, finding those partnerships, promoting that story, getting the ring filled up. It is beautiful, it is unique, it is certainly an incredible amenity for our downtown. Parking study. Parking. I have all my notes right here. I have a call with the consultant tomorrow. So you guys will have that final report back, I would assume, in the next 2 weeks. Not major changes to be done. But essentially the gist of the results are we need to modernize our parking equipment, which you all know. That we are looking at, if we just consider public parking within the next 10 years, we'll end up with a 500 space deficit once Imagine Clearwater is completely built out. So there's a lot of recommendations on how to think about public parking, where it could be constructed, how it could be constructed. But of course, in the interim, looking at shared parking agreements and looking at better wayfinding and better technology to direct people to the public parking that exists. And then, unfortunately, we don't have a parking manager. That position just became vacant again this week. So we will still, even though the study will be published, we'll still be looking to fill that key position again to move some of those recommendations forward. For special events in the interim, City Hall parking lot will be in use, as well as the temporary parking lot that CMA was using that's a grass lot. So that'll be available for special events, not for ongoing all the time parking. The grass lot, the City Hall lot will be able to be used, and we're working that out right now. Is it going to be, what the CRA is advocating for is that currently all the employees of retail and restaurants park below the Harborview Center. So we need to find a place for them to park, most likely where City Hall employees used to park, that portion of it, that wouldn't conflict with our Ruth Eckerd Hall agreement. So we're trying to take care of the employees first and get them off the street and out of the garages so that they're free for patrons, right, to the businesses.
Is there a plan to tear down City Hall and make it ready for another use?
Not at this exact moment. We're considering options for reuse for City Hall, and then we're also considering options for demo.
Reuse, like it might be reoccupied by someone else?
I have had several different cultural institutions approach me and ask to use City Hall as a museum. Some of them have more funding and some of them have no funding. So.
It seems strange that we would vacate the premises and then make it available to somebody else.
Well, it wouldn't be on a permanent basis, but anything that happens, if anything other than a city-operated facility happens on that site, it has to go through referendum. If it's sold, if it's leased for anything other than if it's leased, sold or leased, it has to go through referendum. That process alone, just doing an RFP, finding all that, would take a minimum of 2 to 3 years. So the question is there a viable, city-sanctioned use that could be used on that site in the interim to keep it, to have an active use there, right? So it's not just a big vacant lot, right, in downtown. Does that make sense or not? Which is what we're in the process of sorting through. And if there's not, then we'd move forward with demoing, and we'd have another surface parking lot with a better view of the bridge.
Identified at this point for the demolition of City Hall.
No, and right now, we're going to be using the parking lot through spring break for the trolley.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And they're going to be giving free rides to the beach. They're going to, actually, the city's making that into a little parklet kind of a thing, which is with some tents and maybe some food and things to attract people down there, and then, get them on trolleys to the beach instead of taking cars, and helping out with the traffic a little bit. Also, the ferry is going to be helped out a little bit, I think. It's going to be involved in that whole thing to take get as many cars off the causeway as we can, to help out getting people to and from the beach.
You remember this moving from vacant to vibrant bullet point? I mean, the CRA, my interest is that sites are vibrant, not vacant. So doing the creative placemaking work of making this a trolley stop, right? If we can get a use that makes sense financially within that very limited time frame, we'd rather be vibrant because we have plenty of vacant land.
Makes sense.
There's a sign, this is completely off topic, there's a sign right outside the Bank of America building. Big yellow one, I guess it's a pedestrian sort of.
Brand new.
Yeah. It's so big. And all I keep thinking is it's bigger than our parking signs. Our pedestrian sign is bigger than our parking sign.
Oh, it says high pedestrian area?
Yeah. I wish it was reversed. The parking sign, even when we do have parking, people don't know where it is. I wish we keep talking about signage, and then all of a sudden we do get this great big sign, big yellow sign. I want big signs for parking.
Big parking. Yeah, and last thing I'll say that I have lunches or coffee set up with each of you just to touch base, right, to understand what your number one goal is for 2019 and yeah, just checking in. Or I'm out. That's it.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Amanda. We'll move on to item number 13. The first thing I want to say is this past week there was a promotional email that was sent out by the city on upcoming events in the downtown. And it listed a very large number of events and activities that are coming up, which I thought was a very good indicator for the state of the downtown. But it was also a very high-quality promotional piece. It caught my eye. It was very well done with very good color and graphics and so on. And it brought me to Stu's frequent recommendation for a listserv. And I made some inquiries about it. I had a discussion with Madai, who created the piece. And basically that went out to about 15,000 people who are on it, which is the sum of the email addresses that she has available to her. She has some specialized lists that are like Sea Blues specific. That list is 2,000 people. But if you sum up all the lists, and the general list is about 15,000 names. To create the kind of impact that we want to create for a major signature event, we want to have like 6 or 7 times that number. And this is where I think the money that we've allocated in past years and in this year's budget for listserv, this is where we need to focus on how we're going to make that grow. So my recommendation to you is when you have your meeting, your upcoming meeting with Rosemary, that you keep that point in mind and mention it to her, that we have funds in the budget allocated to create such a server. We just haven't had the nuts and bolts knowledge of how to go about it, or who's going to actually do it. So now that we have a PR person, let's see if we can move forward with this initiative. The money's there, the interest is there, and we have people that can create and send out these promotional emails. Mm-hmm. We can really improve the impact we have on the downtown if we have 100,000 names on this list. Okay. The other thing that I personally have an interest in is that an additional mailing list that we need is, right now we are here to service the constituents of the Downtown Development Board, of the downtown district. That is basically the taxpayers of the downtown. One thing that is notably absent is that we do not have any communication to and from these taxpayers. And I think it's high time that we created an email list of all the taxpayers in the downtown, and that at least on a quarterly basis, we provide them with an update on what our progress is in achieving the goals of the Downtown Development Board, and any good news or any improvements in property values, anything that we know that we've accomplished or that we think we're accomplishing, saying this is what we're doing, this is the direction we're headed in, and do you approve of that? Seeing as how you're paying the bill. And this is the direction you want to go, right? So I think that either in a mailing between now and the next election, or as part of the next ballot process when we send out a mailing, that we include and solicit email addresses from all of the taxpayer entities, and that we then thereafter start creating and issuing a quarterly at least update of where we're at, and possibly including a survey on what is needed and wanted from them. What direction would they like us to go and solicit their advice? So that's something that I'm going to work on. For sure. Another point that came up today that was mentioned by the auditors was this $48,000 loan to the CRA. And that is going to make a nice little bump in our available funds when an RFP is issued and is successfully.
And I'll look and see if we can reimburse that earlier.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
We would love to get our money back, right?
I mean,
yeah, I would love to see a nice profit come out of it too. I'd like it to sell for more than, I'd like to see us get that 3.8% of some very large number. But anyway,
Maybe some choices.
there's that money that's going to create a nice little bump in our annual budget, either this year, next year, or the year after, whenever. Okay, so let's move on to upcoming events. On Saturday, February the 9th, that's this coming Saturday, we have the Spring Block Party Church of Scientology is putting on in the 500 block of Cleveland Street. On Sunday, February the 10th, we have Checkmate, the concert series at Peace Memorial Presbyterian Church. That's check as in C-Z-E-C-H. Nice little pun there. Sunday, February 17th, we have Cruising at the Cap Car Show on Cleveland Street. On Friday, February the 22nd, we have Blast Friday with The Fix, taking place on Cleveland Street. Saturday and Sunday, February 23rd and 24th, we have our annual Clearwater Sea Blues Festival in Coachman Park, which we are proud sponsors of. So with that, I would like to ask for final comments from each member, starting on my left.
No final comments.
I'd like to thank whoever, and I'm sure it's the CRA, that did the mural on the side of the building, Kathy's building, and the mural on the parking deck, and that beautiful piece right in front of my office, that face, magnificent. So whatever that thing that got taken out and the face there, that's so many comments on that. I think downtown is really looking better with just, even that tattoo building, you did that one too, Lou's Tattoos?
Yes.
That, yeah, I mean, it's all noticeable when you're driving around, it's beautiful art, so I really appreciate that. A lot of people do it too, besides myself.
Yep, and it's Public Art and Design Board that does the sculptures, the public sculpture. But yes, the murals are the.
I'm really excited about the tearing down of the Harbor View. I think it's going to be a monumental event, and I think it's going to spearhead an upward swing in momentum, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's important.
Today was a good session. I just wanted to bring up 2 points. One is I like the idea about the satellite campus for USF or SPC, but if that doesn't happen, at least a small arts institute, a trading or cybersecurity or a fintech, a small 50-member or 100-member institute would be good. And then the second point is I'm not a finance professional, but I'm looking at the financial statement summary, and it says that the interest income reduced from 790 to 247. So maybe if the city fund is more actively managed, or at least a DDB portion of the funds can be actively managed by another professional investment firm, I think we can generate some income, and at 40,000 or something additional funds also that we are going to get if they're more actively managed, and we get a $2,000 or a $3,000 interest income. That would be good.
Excited about the direction. I'm sorry that you're going to be leaving us for a short period. I hope you'll be back soon, and wish you all the best.
Any comment?
I have a question for Amanda. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
It's a boy? Wow.
Boy.
Nice.
We say working title, Luke Antonio.
Working title. David,
No,
do you
when
have
we
a
see
final
it.
comment?
I thought some great comments tonight. Frank really surprised me. I mean, not only giving us a report of a very successful boat race, but, he's the kind of guy that thinks about this stuff all the time. And I thought he gave us some very good ideas on direction. And, I think it's a good idea for the DDB to write a letter to the county saying we really would like you to stay. Just as a letter of support would be a good idea, because we're going to be talking about that in the next month when the report comes in.
We have it as an agenda item for the next meeting.
And if that guy wants to fund the Ferris wheel, I think we should let him.
Yeah.
I agree, totally.
I do thought that was an unusually interesting interjection by Frank to give us that idea on what's happening with the courthouse in the future there. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So with that, at 7:12 in the evening, I declare this meeting adjourned.
All right.